and welcome to the first teaching award for the FMA. So I want to give you a little bit of background for this award. About 8 years ago, actually it's been 10 years now, 10 years ago, FMA started an econometric series here at FMA. So every year we have at least one, if not more, econometric series where people are introducing new techniques in econometrics. So 2 years ago, I suggested, along with Michelle to the board, Michelle Liu, our director at FMA, to the board that we should have pedagogy series here at FMA because many people are doing research, but all of us have to teach at our universities. And let's get some techniques for good pedagogy. So last year was our inaugural pedagogy series, and we had a presentation yesterday in that pedagogy series, and the award, we decided to also give teaching award. And so we had 30 submissions for the award, and I, along with Jennifer and Andrew Metric, decided the finalists. And so they were all really good. They were really good, wouldn't you agree, Jennifer? They were all very good, and it was difficult to narrow it down to 3. But you have a treat. We have the 3 presenters here. So I'm going to just introduce their names to you, and then of course they'll introduce their presentations. So we've got David Offenberg, Jack Trifts, and Jonathan Godby. And so they will present their work here in a minute. And the prize, we're going to have a prize. It's $1,000 for the first place winner and $500 for the runner-ups. And this award is generously supported by the AICPA and the CGMA. And we have Ken Witt here that's going to talk to you for a minute, and then we'll get back. Okay, so I want you to meet Ken, and he'll tell you a little bit about the award and what they do.
So thanks, Jacqueline.
Sure.
On behalf of the Association of Certified Professional Accountants, it's my pleasure to say a few words about this award. The association is the unified voice of the AICPA and CIMA, and these are the membership bodies for designation holders of the CPA designation and the CGMA designation. So most of you are probably familiar with the CPA designation, which is sort of the big, public accounting designation, premier accounting designation in the U.S. and around the world. But the CGMA designation distinguishes professionals who have an advanced proficiency in finance, operations, strategy, and management. And we think the CGMA designation is very attractive to finance students who have an interest in pursuing their careers in corporate finance roles, a wide range of corporate finance roles, and we've created a learning program, an online learning program, the Finance Leadership Program, to facilitate their learning in order to pass the exams that are involved in the CGMA designation. So that's why we are partnering with the FMA and sponsoring this award, and we also are active in the student conference that's held every spring. Another important part of the mission of the association is to support professionals in business and support the research and teaching activities of you academics who prepare our students for their careers. So with that, I'd like to extend my congratulations to this year's finalists and turn it back over to Jacqueline.
Thank you. So I wanted to say another word or two about the award itself. So the award specifically recognizes innovation in teaching. And so that's the name of the award, the FMA Innovation in Teaching Award. And we want to recognize quality educators and who this forum allows those quality educators to tell you how they innovate in the classroom. So we wanted this to be, 1, a recognition of their innovation, but 2, a mechanism that they could share that with you. And so we will continue these awards in the future. And so we're really lucky to have this awards, and thanks very much. Where did Ken go?
Right here.
There he is. There's Ken. Where'd he go? So, and thank you very much for your support. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much. So before they get started, we want you to help us choose the award winner. Okay? We want you to help us choose the award. So we have a poll here, and you can do that just on your phone. And once we're finished with all the presentations, so don't vote before all the presentations are done, okay? So, and I'll put that back up there, but we will have an ability to do that. And with that,
David, and I want to echo David's thanks to FMA, the AICPA. This is really terrific. I think for so many years, FMA has been solely about the research side of the business, and that's a big part of our life. But there's not too many of us who escape going to that classroom Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And so this is a chance to recognize that and in fact celebrate that. So my name is Jack Trifts. I'm from Bryant University, just outside of Providence, Rhode Island. And what I'm going to do today is talk about these 4 steps, but in some ways, this is also a little bit about a journey that I've been on for the past 5 years, because I have taught for a good long time, and I thought for a very long time that lecturing was teaching. I knew I was a great lecturer, and therefore my students were just learning just a massive amounts of stuff. Turns out I missed a couple of things there, and we're going to talk about that. So we're going to talk about 4 steps that we're going to work on here today, and I'm going to just kind of walk you through that. And step 1 is stop lecturing. That we think that teaching is lecturing, and in fact, I'm now convinced that lecturing is important, but the class is not the place to do that. And so, forever, and for most of our education, the process of teaching has been students hopefully do some preparatory work, they read the book, and then they show up and we wow them with our knowledge, and they are so enthralled that they are moved by that process, and then they leave with all of this knowledge and they work on the problems and the projects and everything on their own, oftentimes struggling with that. And so I've moved to a very traditional flipped classroom where all of that lecturing occurs beforehand on videos. And I'll show you, I'm going to show you videos of great stuff, but I'm going to show you some little snippets of stuff that's there. In class, I lecture almost none at all. Once in an odd while, I'll take 4 or 5 minutes and just say, let's talk about this as a class. But most of the time, I'm not lecturing what you think of traditional, what I'm doing right now. I always think of the irony of making a PowerPoint presentation to a group, but why PowerPoint presentations in the classroom are bad. But that, I digress. Then students go off and they're better prepared to do that. So my lectures, we're a Blackboard school, but course management system, whichever you are, my lectures are recorded MP4s. They're sitting there. Students can watch those on their own time before coming to class. I incent them to watch them before coming to class. They can watch them after class and before exams and the sort. This is just a little snippet. It's about 5 minutes of a lecture compressed to about a minute. They're the PowerPoint slides we're all using, but rather than standing in front of a room, I'm typically sitting in an easy chair at home with a headset on and a stylus talking to folks that's here. Recording is easy. I use a product called Camtasia, but there's free products for your iPad. Undoubtedly, your school has something that they provide to you free of charge, and so there's lots of stuff there. Takes a little time up front, but then the lectures, particularly in First Finance, have some shelf life. I go back once a year and I re-record the stuff that has interest rates, because I don't want to talk about interest rates from 10 years ago, currency rates, but you know what? The time value of money hasn't changed since Adam was in kindergarten. And a lot of that stuff, capital budgeting, that has really long shelf life. And so once you've got that done, you're great. And again, I distribute it by the course management system that is there. Our course management system, Blackboard, is set up that I give students 10% of the grade for watching, and Blackboard will monitor that for me. And then at class time, that lecture disappears from there and goes to another part. They can still watch it as an MP4, but they don't get credit for it at that point. That's it. So that's step 1, stop lecturing. Step two, and I was delighted, I did not collude on this, but if I was going to say I need somebody to get up first and talk about how you get a job, is you learn to use a financial calculator. No, he's talked about Excel. And I think it is time in our profession that we all get together and say, financial calculator, bad. That's there. Sending your students out, sending our students out to that first job, and they show up going, yeah, I'm now very well prepared to do financial modeling, and I'm going to get out my notebook, and I've got my 12C with me. You might as well have them trained on an abacus, or, you know what that one is in the upper corner? Yeah. A few people are going, what the hell is that? Yeah, that's there. It's a slide rule, and I think these are all kindred spirits at this point. What I do is I teach Excel, and all of my students have laptops. I'm going to show just a little video without audio. And at the beginning, I'm standing at kind of a rolling podium here, and I've got the Excel. We've got some pretty cool facilities, but you can do this with a screen here. But the cool thing is, I tell students, you're not only responsible for yourself, you're responsible for your neighbor. And so you see a lot of circumstances where students are not only learning from me, they're often learning from each other. And I will do a little bit of stuff, and then I will stop, and I will wander the room. And when you wander the room, something kind of disconcerting happens, particularly when you're just starting doing this. You always thought when you ask, do you get it? And they kind of either do, or they nod, you think, yeah, they got it. And when you then walk around, you go, they don't got it. And so you can lean over, you can help them, and they're helping each other, they're sliding their chairs back and forth, they're engaged in the process that's there. This was a little exercise we were doing, just teaching, I think we were doing net present value and that kind of stuff that's that day. I give them pre-prepared templates, but there's all kinds of holes, there's no formulas in them, so they have to fill them out. The students love this. They know that when they go to an internship, they'll come back and say, you know, I got the internship because I can do Excel. I got the job from the internship because I was the only one this summer who knew how to really do the Excel and get it. So it's real work. So that's number two. Number three is, of all of them, I think this is where the magic happens. So for number three, this is let the learning happen in teams. So they've come, they've got the lectures, we've done a little bit at the front of the class where they've learned the Excel. Now they go to work on their own. And so the majority of a lot of my classes, I have classes where I come in and put up instructions and they go to work for the whole class and maybe we'll reconvene for 10 minutes at the end. But during that time, they've got their heads down, working in teams around tables. They could also do this, and I used to do this in a traditional case room where they kind of worked around, one person would turn their tables around. But they're engaged. I don't see cell phones in my class. I don't see Facebook in my class because they're engaged with their colleagues, they're working on this stuff, and my job is to wander around and be the helper, the tutor. And now I can look over and see, these folks really got it. And sometimes, rather than going, let me help you, I will go, David's clearly got it, help your friend over here. And that way there's this learning process that goes on. I also have this thing that I call, who has the con? You know, this is, we're a naval town here in San Diego. The con is the part of the ship from which it is steered. The fact is, I got it from being a nerd who watched the old Star Trek stuff, and every time James Kirk left the bridge, he'd say, Sulu, you have the con. But the first day of class, I say, whoever would like to run Excel for the day, do it. And typically, it's the student who has the Excel skills, and they do that. But rather than letting that person further develop their skills while everybody else doesn't, I have this process that says every day, the person to the left of the person who ran it yesterday has the con. They are responsible for being the leader of the team, and so we go around multiple times through the semester. Everybody gets a chance to have some leadership opportunity. Everybody has a chance to be the person pushing the buttons for that day while their colleagues help that process. So that's step three. These three, I think, are very scalable. I don't know that I could do it in a 500-person lecture hall, but I could do it with a lot more students than I have here. as long as you can get around and you have a chance for them to get together. Step 4 I use when I teach honor students. When I have small groups of students that's there, I reinforce with research. And so in addition to the other stuff that we've talked about, I have a series of what I call company reports. And we, last year, became a Bloomberg school, but previous to that, we used other library resources, Mergent and Hoover's and Value Line and all of those other kinds of things. And so in the first case, I say, go out and use the Bloomberg terminal and learn about a company. Learn about its background, its competitors, its strategy, and we come in and we sit in a circle and we talk about it. When we do corporate performance, we have them off doing ratio analysis. And rather than sitting in a circle, we gather them up by different companies and they do comparisons in small teams. When we do risk and return, I have them downloading returns and calculating variances and betas and comparing them to Value Line and Bloomberg and FactSet betas and those kind of things. And then we end the semester, very last day of class, we do a stock pitch. Not quite ready for prime time in the securities analysis course or beyond, but they put together everything. They use some dividend discount and some price earnings models, and they pull everything together, and they really have a sense of satisfaction about that. So here's this is actually a shot of one of our areas. We have the Bloomberg terminals that are there. I provide a 5-point bonus to your final overall score if you're Bloomberg certified by the end of the semester, and so we want them to get those kind of skills that are there as well. So those are the 4 steps. That's all cool. What about the outcomes that are there? Well, the first outcome, which resonates with me and probably resonates with most faculty, is students love my class. Class is, the students enjoy being there, and of course, these students in our university come from across the business school. So many of them, in fact, most of them are not planning to be finance majors. I hook a few of them while they're there. But the students really enjoy being there and they're engaged. That's reflected in student evaluations. Well, that's nice. That works well when it gets to the dean. But they also learn more. I have kept very close track of student performance. And if you compare student grades on the same exam, post flipping the classroom, this process, and pre, they're 10 points higher. They know more stuff because they have been engaged in the process. I can work with them during the process. And so there is more learning going on in an active learning classroom. And so some comments that I'll just let run up here as I wrap up. Many students say it's their favorite. They like the out-of-class lectures. International students who have trouble with language really benefit from being able, but students whose language is the first. The Excel, they know the Excel is important to them, and they enjoy doing that. They're engaged around, they want to engage with their friends that are there. And then the Bloomberg terminals, they know that's the gold standard out there. And so it's really been very, very effective and something that I think is both very transferable and very scalable. So I'll switch and let Jonathan take